I was trying to think, who was the last British Prime Minister who served a full term with a majority in Parliament? Because David Cameron counts, obviously he served 5 years, but that was a coalition government. Who was the last British Prime Minister who served a full term with a majority? I'm pretty sure it's Tony Blair between 2001 and 2005, isn't it? So we've had nearly 20 years. Well, Cameron does count, but we're not an island of peace, tranquility and stability politically, are we, at all? And I just don't see any way in which Keir Starmer makes it to 2029. I don't see any way in which Keir Starmer makes it to the end of the year, to be honest with you. Certainly the May elections were a big moment anyway, but any kind of wriggle room that Keir Starmer might have been able to generate through expectation management or signs that things are getting better, all that is cut away by what has happened over the last few days, not just because of his decision to appoint Mandelson, but I think underplayed in all of this is what happened yesterday in Parliament and how some MPs, Labour MPs, are very, very angered by it. We'll get into the details of that in just a moment. Alex is in Lewisham. Alex, is he toast?
Hi, Tom. I don't think so, not until May at least. I think your call about Rayner is never going to happen. She's never going to be the Prime Minister, I'm afraid. Because of the misogyny in the British media, it would make...
We've already had three female Prime Ministers.
Yeah, Conservatives. If you're Conservative, you get a pass.
What?
If you're Conservative, you get a pass.
What, from the misogyny in the right-wing media?
Yes.
Right, so the misogyny in the right-wing media only exists for left-wing women?
It exists much more for left-wing women than it does right-wing women.
So it's not the women bit that's the important bit, is it? It's the left-wing bit that's the important bit, no?
Well, if you are left-wing and a woman, you're going to get a much harder time of it than if you're right-wing and a woman. By the British media.
Generally by the British media?
By the loudest elements of the British media, yeah.
So the right-wing newspapers are not going to like you because you're a woman and because you're left-wing?
Well, not just the newspapers. I'm talking about the radio presenters, the TV broadcasters who love to spout off about, what were the terms we used for Rachel from accounts, casting aspersions about her history, all of this stuff.
It's casting aspersions about her history.
Where's that energy for Donald Trump?
For casting aspersions about her history, read making stuff up on her CV as Chancellor. I don't think that's an unfair criticism.
I've called into you my opinion. I'm just saying to you, I don't think Rayner's going to happen because I don't think it's a sensible choice for Labour or the country because her prime ministership will just become a sideshow. Look at the abuse. Do you remember the growler stuff? Angela's growler, which Boris Johnson was allegedly talking about many moons ago. Do you remember all of that stuff?
Let's be a little careful, Alex.
Have you ever heard anything like that about any Conservative women?
Not from Boris Johnson. Well, actually...
To memory? No, to memory, though. Can you just pluck something out of thin air like I can pluck that out of thin air?
I'd tell you, there was the front page of the Daily Mail, I think it was called Legsit. It was a picture of Theresa May, Nicola Sturgeon sitting next to each other. Both happened to be wearing some sort of skirt, I imagine, and the headline was Legsit.
So, legs or vagina? Which is more demeaning?
Yeah, I'm off the top of my head, Alex, no, I can't think of a moment during which the British media have referred to the groins of... Yeah, thank you. So I think on that point, OK, I think you've made your point. I don't think we need to go any further into that.
OK, all right. So, Rayner, not a chance. It's got to be...
Go on.
I was going to say, it's got to be Streeting or Burnham. I personally think Streeting, not because I necessarily agree with his politics, but I just think he's got the it to fight Nigel Farage in the way that Farage needs to be fought. I think he's got the right level of charisma. He does seem to get on with the right-wing media, which is always helpful in this in the current situation. So I think it has to be him. I don't think Starmer's going until May, though. So I think all of this is just noise until then.
I don't know that it's noise. I think it is real, and I think it is a problem. The fundamentals probably need to shift a bit further in order for him to go. The fundamentals being numbers in Parliament. If you lose a by-election incredibly badly, come distant third to Greens and Reform, I think he's in even more bother, and that's at the end of this month. But again, maybe May is the critical moment, but all of this has meant any wiggle room, I think, is gone. Alex, thank you for the call. Jason's in Nottingham. Jason?
Hey, Tom, good afternoon to you. I just wondering about the yardstick we're using to measure whether Keir Starmer has to leave or not.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we're going to take the yardstick that he has to go because of Mandelson, then surely King Charles has to abdicate because of what he knew about his brother. And now King Charles knew absolutely, since their mother paid 12 million quid to some girl that Andrew apparently never met, he knew what was going on since then, for sure. And surely Nigel Farage has to step down because his appointed leader of the Welsh Reform Party is a convicted traitor working on behalf of the Russian government for doing things and saying exactly the same things that Nigel Farage has been saying for years in support of the Russian government. So you think, well, if the yardstick is we're going to judge people by their associations and places they appoint them to, surely they've all got to go.
Jason, I think that would be a thoroughly consistent position. But consistency is obviously not easy in politics. So, yes, I think you may well be right.
So can we expect all the calls that you're clearly calling for Keir Starmer has to go now? We're expecting King Charles has to abdicate next?
I think people need to be clear about what they knew in relation to appointments, decisions they have taken about various people. In this case, it's Peter Mandelson. Do we know for certain that Nigel Farage knew that Nathan Gill was being paid by the Russians in order to do stuff? I don't think we do know that.
Well, we did know that what Nathan Gill was saying was exactly the same things that Nigel Farage has been saying for the entire period of time. And we also know that Nathan Gill and Nigel Farage have been close friends for many years. Yep. We also know that Nigel Farage brought Nathan Gill from UKIP Brexit Party into Reform. All the whole time. Whether he knew or not about the money, that's a different issue. He knew exactly what he was doing.
Well, I think that is the issue, though. I think that is the issue, though, isn't it? I mean, if it can be shown that Nigel Farage knew that this man was being paid money by the Russians, then, wow, there's a problem.
Well, it was pretty obvious what they're doing. I mean, and Farage included. And we can take it all the way back to Boris Johnson. You know, when he skipped that NATO meeting and dashed down to meet a colonel from the KGB, and with all the documentation, but without his security team. Take it back as far as Alistair Darling, if you want to, during the financial crisis, when he's having nighttime meetings in his home with Fred Goodwin. They're all at it.
So, Jason, is your suggestion then that Keir Starmer ought to go because it's a similar problem to the Farage one, or is Keir Starmer being measured by a different yardstick to those people?
He's being measured by a very different yardstick, I think. Gordon McSweeney should probably go. Absolutely, fair enough. Morgan McSweeney, sorry. But I think
Gordon?
Starmer... I was thinking Gordon Brown, Alistair Darling, you know what it's like.
Get rid of Gordon McSweeney, get him... Poor bloke, he doesn't know what's happened.
You're sacked, Gordon. You know what I mean. I think that if we're calling as hard as we are for Starmer to go, then we have to use the same yardstick for everybody. If not, then let's lay the blame where it is, which is Nathan Gill in prison, hopefully Mandelson going the same direction. Andrew also deserves to be there.
He's always said that he denies any wrongdoing. We have to make that clear.
Yeah, that's the other thing, right? So all of these people say they deny any wrongdoing. But Mandelson, Andrew, and all the others. It's because they're morally bankrupt. They honestly don't think that they've done anything wrong. They're morally bankrupt.
All right. Jason, I really appreciate the call. Thank you very much indeed. Gordon McSweeney out. Matthew's in Shepperton. Matthew.
Hello. So in the midst of all this outrage about Starmer appointing Mandelson because he was a friend of Epstein, no one, I think, has spelled out succinctly precisely why a friendship with a convicted sex offender should rule someone out of being a US ambassador. And let's remember here, Trump himself has been found civilly liable of raping someone. He's been accused of rape more than once by, I think, adults and minors. Dealing with extremely unpleasant characters who none of us would deal with in our personal lives is literally part of the job.
Yes. Does that therefore mean that you have to appoint an extremely unpleasant individual to do that job on behalf of His Majesty the King?
it doesn't mean you have to. But
No.
if you're in Keir Starmer's position, you're appointing your sort of checklist of competencies for a US ambassador are things like mastery of international politics, ability to ingratiate yourself with the US administration. Trump, let's not forget, was a friend of Epstein, moving in the same circles. I mean, it's possible that Mandelson really, while not a character you might want to associate with, and while he maintained associations you would never want to have, it's possible that in terms of strict competence, he really was a good man for the job. I mean, I know, wisdom of hindsight, not now, but I don't think it's fair to jump.
With hindsight, yes, but even at the time, it was an intensely risky thing to do, wasn't it? To appoint a man to that job who you knew was having or had ongoing relationship with a convicted.
Well, I will repeat. He was being appointed an ambassador to an administration whose president had an ongoing relationship.
So it's because of Epstein that he gets appointed, which is fine.
No, I didn't say that. I'm just pointing out. Look, Starmer's job.
So why would you appoint
maintain...
Mandelson? There was a perfectly good US ambassador in position at the time who was doing a perfectly fine job.
Okay, well, I don't know the answer to that. I specifically want to challenge this point that appointing someone who maintains a friendship with Epstein is a gross misjudgment. I don't think it's that simple. Starmer's job himself is to maintain good relations with Trump, a man who was a close friend of Epstein. It's simplistic to say, oh my God, he was a friend of Epstein, ghost him. I don't think it works like that in international relations.
I think, Matthew, you can't be guilty by association, particularly, but it speaks of your decision-making and your moral compass somewhat, doesn't it, to appoint to a job that could have had lots of people appointed to it. George Osborne was named as one of the people that I think Keir Starmer was actually hoping for, that you chose to appoint that man.
Well, yes, character and moral standing and so on are factors in making appointments, but so are a huge, big laundry list of other stuff that is not being discussed. I mean, if in an alternative history, Starmer could have appointed a different ambassador who would not have ingratiated himself with the Trump administration properly, and we could all have 50% tariffs and be hurting now, and the press would be saying, oh my God, he should have appointed Mandelson. You don't know.
But I think you need to prove that Mandelson was really absolutely central to making sure that didn't happen.
I'm going to admit I can't personally prove that. I'm not trying to make the case that Starmer was absolutely right to appoint Mandelson. Again, my point is simply that a big logical leap has been made. Mandelson was a friend of Epstein. Starmer appointed Mandelson. Ergo, Starmer exercised poor judgment. I don't think it's that simple, and I think you need to get into that decision a little bit more. Like I said, Trump is a friend of Epstein. Trump is the guy we deal with.
Which I agree, but that sort of suggests that because of Mandelson's friendship with Epstein, you've appointed him because Trump's friends with Epstein, or was?
No. I don't mean to suggest that Mandelson should be appointed because they're all in the same sleazy circle. What I mean is,
in a way, that's entirely logical. It's horrendous, but it's logical, isn't it?
Well, and this is my point. If you're Keir Starmer, you may not have the luxury of being absolutely morally pure in the people that you choose to work with or appoint to positions. He will have a huge list of considerations to do with international relations.
There's not morally pure, and then there's cavorting regularly with a convicted paedophile. I mean,
okay, maybe I shouldn't have said morally pure. I should even have said morally passable. But again, you're appointing an ambassador. You're not appointing a guardian of morals. You're appointing someone who can ingratiate themselves with.
From the Prime Minister who said that we are going, that change is coming, that we employ the highest standards of public servants in doing their duty.
Well, yeah, and yet he invites a man who's been found civilly liable of raping someone over for 2 state visits. He has to. It's his job.
Well, quite. But that's a person who's been elected over whom Starmer has no choice. And I think I'm right in saying that Donald Trump, it was sexual abuse and defamation of the writer E. Jean Carroll that a New York jury found him guilty of in a civil case. The former president was cleared of rape over the alleged assault in a department store in the 1990s. Just need to be clear on that. Matthew, thank you for the call.